Very interesting. Joining me now, Marc Thiessen, former chief speechwriter to President George W. Bush and a Fox News contributor, and Youssef Munir, who is the executive director of the U.S. Campaign for Palestinian Rights. Gentlemen, welcome. Good to have both of you here. So we all watched this fascinating process over the past couple of days, and it did spark people to sort of sound a bit more optimistic about this than we have heard in a long time. Youssef, is there a possibility here? And if so, how does it work?
Well, I think you did hear a lot of optimism, but one of the things you didn't hear, and I think this is perhaps the most important thing from this entire trip, was neither the Israeli prime minister or the American president mentioning the words two-state solution, which has been a long-standing U.S. policy towards this issue. So I think the big question now that remains open is, how is it that the American president would like to see peace and would like to see freedom, a value that he sounded out very loud and clearly today throughout his trip, realized for Palestinians living under Israeli military occupation now for 50 years, if not through self-determination in a Palestinian state? If that's not going to happen, fine, that's probably very realistic given the reality on the ground. But what does that mean for Palestinians? How can they achieve their rights? How can they live freely and enjoy the rights that all people do without Israeli military occupation? Donald Trump did not provide an answer for that, unfortunately.
Well, maybe he feels he's at the beginning of the conversation and he wants the parameters to develop as they work it through. And this is a picture at the Western Wall, moving moments when the president was there. Marc, how dug in and how possible for change?
Well, the problem with the reason why we haven't had peace in the Middle East is not because of a lack of negotiating skill on behalf of the president. It's because Israel doesn't have a partner that wants peace. The Palestinians do not want peace. The Palestinians are the most radicalized population in the entire Muslim world. For example, support for suicide bombings has plummeted across the Muslim world. According to the Pew Center, Pakistan, which is the home of al-Qaeda, only 3% of the population supports suicide bombings. In the Palestinian territory, it's 46%. In Gaza, it's 62%. Knife attacks. There have been a spate of knife attacks where Palestinian terrorists go up and stab Israeli kids on the street in Jerusalem and other cities. The support for that is 58% of Palestinian citizens support that, 82% in Gaza. You can't have peace with someone who wants to slit your throat.
I only have about half a minute left. Youssef, you want to respond to that?
Well, clearly, Marc didn't pay attention to what the president said today. The president spoke to the Israelis directly in his meeting with Netanyahu today at the Israel Museum, and he said the Palestinians want peace. And he looked at the Israeli government and he said, you also need to make serious concessions. And so it's very clear here that the Palestinians do want peace. And you have an Israeli government that has stated clearly, sir, this is their words, they do not want a Palestinian state. So if you are going to hold the people under military occupation forever, it's unlikely that you're going to have